Okay, here's the formula I'm going to be using, and we'll come back to this. First, I'll come down, and I may have to do this twice, so I don't know this particular book what they go with. We got a lower class limit, and we got our upper class limits. So I'm going to put in 1, 11, 21, 31. Now notice that they increase by tens. 1 plus 10 is 11, 11 plus 10 is 21, 21 plus 10 is 31. So that's important. That's called your class width. That's important to keep in mind. So this one's 10, 20, 30. Now this isn't given on the last one, but since they increased by tens, then we put a 40 here. Okay. Now there's two ways to figure your midpoints. And that's why I say I may have to play with this. I think what this book does is it takes this lower class plus the next lower class and divides by 2. Other books will take 1 plus 10 and then divide by 2. So we'll try. So I'm going to do an equals and 1 plus 11 divided by 2. I'm writing this specifically out here instead of using cell references so you see the formula I'm referring to. So this lower class limit plus next lower class limit divided by 2 gives us 6. Now, our class width is 10, so I'm going to do an equals and refer to C2 and plus 10. So this will take that and I'll add 10 to it, which gives us 16. And now I can fill this down for the other two, and we get this. Okay. This implies we need the sample mean, x bar, and that's given by this formula. So first thing we'll do is f times x. Now x is our class midpoint, which we just found, and f is our frequency. So I need to put a frequency in there. This is our x. Now I'm doing this in Excel, but you could equally do this on paper if you're doing these by hand. Doesn't change any. And this is our frequency f. And from your problem, we have 37, 19, 18, 13. Okay, so my formula is I need f times x. And I know you got this part already. So I'm going to take equals. And I'm going to take f, which is d2 times x, which was c2. These refer to the cell references. If you're doing it by hand, you just take 6 times 37, put in your calculator. And you do the same for all these rows. 16 times 19, 26 times 18, 36 times 13. This will probably actually tell us which formula to use. Okay, this little E looking thing, that's uppercase sigma. That says to add those together. And also we need to add the F's. So I'll come down here and I'll click my auto sum. If I was doing this by hand, I'd be plugging this in my calculator. 222 plus 304 plus 468 plus 468. That's kind of weird. They're both 468. Now I also need to add together the F's. So I click that. And again by hand, 37 plus 19 plus 18 plus 13. So then our sample mean is going to equal to the top part here divided by the bottom. So the sum of f times x divided by the sum of f. Sum of f times x is in cell E6 right here, divided by the sum of f was in D6. You could click it like you just saw me do, or you could type that in. And I didn't get the same answer that you did, which means I used the wrong formula here. I want to do 1 plus 10 divided by 2. It's easy. I'll just change that. Oops. Let's try it again. And now I get the same sample mean. So the formula for this book is to take the lower class limit plus upper class limit divided by 2. So 1 plus 10 is 11. 11 divided by 2 gives us our 5.5. 11 plus 20 is 31. Divided by 2 gives us 15.5, and so forth. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is as I continue on, I do not want to use a rounded off version of this. So I'm going to refer to this cell as D8. If you plugged in your calculator, there might even be more decimal places to it. So how many do you go to? In theory, all the decimal places that you see on your calculator is what you'd use. That's what makes statistics, if you're not using technology, so hard. Because the odds that you'll write this down over and over if you're doing it on paper, write it down wrong one time, is pretty high. Okay, so we got our sample mean. So now here, we need a column. I'm looking at what's inside of parentheses here, x minus x bar. Well, keep in mind x is our midpoints. So this is x minus x bar. I'm doing equals x, which is C2, minus, now here's the tricky part. Since it's down there and we want it to always be D8, I put $$D, $8. That way when I fill it down, it'll change C2 to C3, C4, C5, but we'll always say D8. We don't want that to change. And then I'll press enter. And then I'll fill that down. And if you're, oops, one too many. If we're doing it by hand, it's nothing too hard on that. We're just taking this midpoint, the x, minus our sample mean, not losing any of the decimal places. X minus x bar, and then there's a squared. So we need a column where we square that. So come here, x minus x bar squared. So I'm going to do an equals f2 times f2. Or you could do caret 2. So that squares it. If you're plugging in your calculator, you plug in negative 10.80459770115 times negative 10.80459770115, and then you do the same for all these. Okay, so that's our x minus x bar squared. Then we got times f. So I'm going to have x minus x bar squared times, and that's just a title I'm putting on there, times f. So I'm going to take this G2 times f, which was D2. If I was doing it by hand, again, I'd take 116.7393 with all the decimal places that follows it, times 37. Fill that down. Okay. I think we're close. That's all the top part. The bottom part, I need the sum of f, which I already got. So now I'm ready for my formula. So sample standard deviation. I'm going to do an equals square root. Number up on, oh, I got to sum those, don't I? I forgot. Because there's a E looking here, uppercase sigma. Okay, so let me escape out of that, come back here, click my auto sum. Again, if you're doing it by hand, you'd add these in your calculator. Press enter. Okay, so now equals square root of h6, that's the sum of x minus x bar squared times f. That would be the top part here. Divided by, and I need parentheses around all of the bottom part, because there's more than a single number there. So divided by, beginning parentheses, my sum of my f, which was d6, minus 1. Close parentheses for the bottom part, close parentheses for the square root. And then press enter. Now, The answer that they have is 11.1. So they take it to 1 decimal place. It tells you to. To find the sample variance, I want to square that entire number. I do not want to round it. Sometimes rounding is okay, works out fine. Other times it doesn't. So I do an equals D9 times D9. If you're doing on the calculator, you take that entire number and multiply it times itself. And we get 123, 1 decimal place, 0.8. Now imagine the round. I round at 11.1. If I take 11.1 times 11.1, we do not get the correct answer. And you see it's fairly far off. This is what I was indicating. You never round in the middle of a problem. Sometimes you get away with it and it works fine, and other times it just gives you the wrong result.